Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're diving deep into virtual communication.
And we've got Frederick Wilkinson's book, Ping, to guide us.
We'll uncover how our communication methods shape how others see us.
And explore the benefits of, well, let's call them strategic blunders in our virtual interactions.
Plus, we'll tackle setting boundaries between work and personal life.
You know, it's fascinating how Ping debunks the idea that virtual communication is just for remote work.
It really does.
We're all virtual communicators now.
In a way, that's true.
It's about recognizing that each communication tool has its own strengths and weaknesses.
So true.
Ping introduces this framework.
The Ping framework,
Exact.
perspective taking, initiative, nonverbal cues, and goals.
Your compass for navigating the virtual world.
What stands out to you about this framework?
Well, for me, it's all about making sure our messages hit the mark.
Hit the mark.
You know, actually landing with the recipient.
Okay, got it.
Perspective taking helps us avoid miscommunication.
It's like putting yourself in their shoes.
Precisely.
Initiative is about choosing the right channel for the message.
Rather than defaulting to endless emails.
Sometimes a quick meeting is better.
Oh, absolutely.
Nonverbal cues highlight the importance of those subtle details.
Like during video calls.
Your camera angle, your background.
It all matters.
Goals being crystal clear about what you want to achieve.
Whether it's ensuring understanding.
Or just delivering a concise message.
I think back to this long email I wrote to my professor.
Explaining a project decision.
She didn't even finish reading it.
Oh, wow.
A quick conversation would have been so much more effective.
A classic case of the wrong medium.
Yeah, I bet.
Ping also dives into this debate about meeting effectiveness.
Some companies, like Shopify, that banned meetings.
Trying to boost productivity.
Yet people like Mark Cuban and Elon Musk swear by email.
It's interesting to see those different approaches.
It is.
So, is there a right answer?
It's not about eliminating meetings entirely. It's about choosing the best tool for the job.
Ping mentions this experiment, the Xerox line cutter experiment.
Oh, that's a fascinating one.
People let someone cut in line if they gave any reason.
Even if it made no sense.
It's amazing how easily we can be persuaded.
Even by nonsensical justifications.
So even small requests benefit from thoughtful communication.
Absolutely.
Then there's this concept of input bias.
Yes.
It's where the perceived effort influences judgments.
Even if the outcome is the same.
Ping connects this to the Fire Festival.
A perfect example.
They created this illusion of hard work through their communication.
Until it all came crashing down, of course.
Their virtual strategy was effective.
Deceptive, but effective.
Researchers found that presentations were rated higher.
Simply because people believed they took longer to make.
It's incredible how perception shapes our judgments.
It truly does.
This raises the question, how do we show effort when working remotely?
When people can't physically see us working.
It's a challenge.
Ping suggests focusing on the process.
Not just the final product.
Like how Ariana Siffington shares her limited meeting availability.
That's a good example.
It subtly signals a busy schedule.
Without explicitly saying it,
It's about creating the right impression.
managing perceptions in the virtual world.
Precisely.
So it's like a performance in a way.
You could say that.
We're all on stage, even when we're not physically present,
And that stage needs careful crafting.
to manage those virtual optics.
And shape those perceptions to our advantage.
And speaking of stages, Ping dives into nonverbal cues in virtual communication.
It's amazing how small details can make a big difference.
The book talks about turning on your camera during video calls,
Like comparing MBA students attending class in pajamas.
to Fortune 100 executives doing the same.
Talk about a contrast.
It highlights how those visual elements impact perception.
It's not just clothes, though.
Think about the I am not a cat video.
Oh, that was classic.
A lawyer with a kitten filter during a court hearing.
A nonverbal mishap for the ages.
It shows how quickly those blunders can go viral.
And speaking of emojis,
Ping mentions some interesting research,
about smiling face emojis,
making you seem less confident in formal first encounters.
but warmer and informal ones.
So context matters.
It's like dressing for the occasion.
You wouldn't wear a swimsuit to a board meeting.
Exactly.
Ping also challenges the idea that strong relationships require physical proximity.
You shared your own story about reconnecting with a former colleague through email.
It was unexpected, but it led to some valuable insights.
Proof that meaningful relationships can flourish online.
Research suggests that audio-based communications can be more effective,
For rekindling those old connections.
so picking up the phone can be powerful.
It adds a human touch that tech often lacks.
But Ping doesn't shy away from the challenges of virtual communication,
It explores the difficulties of conveying and interpreting emotions.
especially during conflicts.
Remember that Hawaii emergency alert system incident?
A mistaken text message caused widespread panic,
It shows how easily miscommunication can happen.
and the importance of perspective taking.
We tend to assume others understand our viewpoint,
It's like when sarcasm gets lost in translation.
or emojis are misinterpreted.
Speaking of which, ping mentions a legal case.
where a farmer was ordered to pay damages.
Because a judge ruled his thumbs up emoji was contract acceptance.
It highlights the need for clarity.
And being mindful of the weight our virtual communication carries.
Let's shift gears to virtual communication overload.
It's a real issue,
The constant influx of messages can be overwhelming.
leading to stress and burnout.
Ping offers practical strategies for setting boundaries.
Like scheduling specific times to check email.
Instead of constantly monitoring your inbox.
It's about taking back control.
Ping also mentions Ariana Huffington's practice.
Of tucking her devices into bed each night.
A symbolic gesture of disconnecting.
It's a good visual reminder.
Alfredo Ramirez's mode chunking approach is interesting.
Allocating time for different communication modes.
A way to manage the influx of messages.
And even small things like do not disturb messages can help.
It's all about finding what works for you.
And creating a healthier relationship with technology.
Now, before we wrap up this section,
Okay?
I want to give you a concise summary.
Of the key takeaways from ping so far.
Are you ready?
Absolutely, hit me with it.
All right, point number 1, remember the ping framework.
Got it. What's next?
Second, meetings aren't always the answer.
True, sometimes they're just a habit.
Third, the effort you invest matters.
Manage those virtual optics wisely.
Fourth, master those nonverbal nuances.
Camera angles, emojis, it all adds up.
Fifth, relationships can thrive virtually.
Even with those less frequent contacts.
Now take a moment to process that.
Okay, I'm ready for the next 5.
Sixth, be aware of the egocentric bias.
Assuming others know what we know.
Seventh, emojis can be legally binding.
That thumbs up emoji case was a real shock.
Think before you emoji.
Especially at work.
8, set boundaries to combat burnout.
That digital deluge can be relentless.
Carve out time for yourself.
Like Ariana Huffington with her devices.
9th, embrace imperfection.
It makes us more human.
And 10th, the human touch endures.
No matter how advanced our technology gets.
Wonderful. Those are our top 10 takeaways.
Now, on to Chapter 3. Nonverbal communication. The silent language of the virtual world.
Let's explore how visual cues shape perceptions.
Like how a video call background can influence how we've seen.
Ping highlights the importance of curating that visual presence.
It's like setting the stage for a performance.
And speaking of performances,
Ping has this funny story about a comedian.
Unknowingly performing for a group of professors.
Instead of his intended audience of 6-year-olds.
Those awkward silences after each punchline.
It reminds us to be mindful of our virtual surroundings.
Now on to Chapter 4, building relationships in a virtual world.
Some say strong relationships need physical presence.
But Ping challenges that.
Showing that meaningful relationships can thrive virtually.
It comes down to effort and intentionality.
You shared a story about reconnecting with a colleague.
Through a simple email.
It led to valuable insights.
Ping suggests that these virtual reconnections
Are often more successful with audio-based communication.
like phone or video calls.
It adds a personal touch.
And don't be afraid to reach out to those lukewarm contacts.
Research shows people generally appreciate the effort.
It's the thought that counts.
That's reassuring to know.
And Ping highlights advice seeking as a relationship building strategy.
It's about framing requests
to make the advice giver feel valued.
and then actually implementing that advice.
Now let's move on to Chapter 5, communicating authentically in a virtual world.
It's about conveying authenticity through a screen.
Ping talks about emotional leakage.
Those unintentional displays of emotion,
That can betray our true feelings.
even when we try to mask them.
Ping uses the example of the Better.com CEO announcing layoffs via video call.
His emotional delivery didn't go over well,
It shows the importance of choosing the right communication mode.
especially for sensitive messages.
And the dangers of sarcasm.
It's so easily misconstrued online.
Especially with different cultural backgrounds.
Ping suggests erring on the side of clarity.
And being mindful of how sarcasm might be perceived.
It also explores how we perceive authenticity.
In different communication modes.
We're more forgiving of inauthenticity in email.
But hold video calls to a higher standard.
It's like different mediums have different expectations.
And Ping suggests ways to enhance perceptions of our authenticity.
Like sharing personal anecdotes.
Letting people see our lives outside of work.
Humanizing ourselves.
It's not about being perfect.
It's about being genuine. Moving on to Chapter 7, the virtual wrecking ball. How to effectively manage digital conflicts and emotions.
Here, Ping tackles those inevitable disagreements.
And how to navigate them in the digital world.
It's interesting how conflicts can escalate online.
With misinterpretations and heightened emotions.
The lack of nonverbal cues doesn't help.
And those delayed responses can really add fuel to the fire.
Ping stresses the importance of perspective taking.
Putting ourselves in the other person's shoes.
It's about understanding their viewpoint, their motivations.
Like in that Hawaii emergency alert system incident,
A false alarm sent via text message.
it caused widespread panic.
It shows how easily things can spiral out of control,
When communication breaks down,
especially in high-stress situations.
Ping suggests using richer mediums for conflict resolution.
Like video calls, where we can see facial expressions and hear tone of voice.
It helps to avoid those misinterpretations.
And the book advises against sarcasm.
It can really backfire in those situations.
Clarity and directness are key.
Even if we disagree, it's important to acknowledge the other person's feelings.
It's about creating a safe space for dialogue.
Now on to Chapter 8, Culture Clash. Navigating virtual communication across geographic and demographic divides.
This chapter explores the complexities of communicating across cultures.
With different communication styles and norms,
It's easy to forget how much our own culture shapes our communication.
Ping emphasizes cultural sensitivity and awareness.
What's polite in one culture could be offensive in another.
Like that Uber Eats campaign for Wife Appreciation Day?
It reinforced gender stereotypes and caused quite a backlash.
A good reminder to be mindful of cultural differences
King suggests researching norms and communication styles.
before engaging with people from different backgrounds.
And being explicit in our communication.
Avoiding idioms or colloquialisms that might not translate well.
Ping also touches upon generational differences,
Younger generations might have different preferences,
like their use of emojis.
which older generations might find inappropriate in certain settings.
It's all about adapting our communication for a diverse audience.
Moving on to Chapter 9, Managing Virtual Communication Overload. Strategies for Staying Sane in a Hyper-Connected World.
This chapter is about taming that digital deluge.
And reclaiming control over our time and attention.
It's a constant battle.
Ping stresses the importance of setting boundaries
Creating dedicated work time.
and disconnecting to recharge.
Finding that balance is crucial.
The book suggests scheduling specific times to check emails
Instead of being glued to our inboxes.
and turning off those pesky notifications.
It's about being intentional with our technology use.
Ping also highlights the importance of taking breaks,
Stepping away from our screens to engage in other activities.
giving our brains a chance to rest and reset.
And the book encourages us to use technology to our advantage.
Like apps that help manage our digital communications.
Scheduling emails, blocking distracting websites.
Finding tools that work for us. Finally, we arrive at Chapter 10, The Future of Virtual Communication. Emerging technologies and the evolving landscape of connection.
It's an exciting time to be exploring virtual communication.
With new technologies constantly emerging.
Virtual reality, augmented reality, holograms.
It's mind-boggling to think about how these might change how we connect.
They could create more immersive and engaging experiences.
Blurring the lines between the physical and digital.
Ping also delves into the role of artificial intelligence.
How AI might automate tasks and enhance efficiency.
But the book cautions against over-reliance on AI.
Emphasizing that human connection will always be essential.
For building trust, fostering empathy, and navigating emotion.
Ping ends on a positive note.
Full of optimism about the future of virtual communication.
It encourages us to embrace these advancements thoughtfully.
Using them to enhance our communication.
And deepen our connections.
While remembering the importance of that human touch.
Ping is a treasure trove of insights.
And practical frameworks to improve our virtual communication skills.
Let's take a look at the communication mode richness chart.
It helps us understand the strengths of different communication technologies.
And choose the right tool for the job.
Like video conferencing for conveying emotions.
Or email for quick informational messages. Ping also talks about communication responders.
Those who prioritize instant replies.
It can be helpful for urgent matters.
But it can also lead to distraction and multitasking.
Ping suggests scheduling focused work time.
And silencing notifications.
To mitigate those drawbacks. Now, before we wrap up, let's revisit the Ping framework.
Perspective, initiative, nonverbal cues, and goals.
It's such a powerful tool for effective communication.
Perspective taking helps us avoid misinterpretations.
Initiative is about choosing the right communication method.
Nonverbal cues shape perceptions.
And goals guide our communication choices. It's a simple yet brilliant framework.
Mastering virtual communication is crucial in today's world.
The Ping framework gives us the tools to succeed.
Remember, in a world where first impressions are often made online,
We need to be savvy communicators.
by employing the Ping principles.
We can navigate this digital landscape with confidence and build strong relationships.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into Ping.
We'll see you next time for another exploration of your source material.
Until then, keep those Ping principles in mind.
And happy communicating.
Let's recap those 10 key takeaways one last time.
All right, hit me with them.
Number 1. Ping is your virtual communication compass.
Number 2, be strategic about meetings.
Number 3. The effort you project matters.
Number 4, nonverbal cues are powerful.
Number 5, virtual relationships can be meaningful.
Number 6, watch out for the egocentric bias.
Number 7, emojis can have legal consequences.
Number 8, set boundaries to avoid burnout.
Number 9, embrace imperfection.
Number 10, human connection is key.
Fantastic. What a journey.
Until next time, happy communicating, everyone.